Great Smoky Mountains National Park is a United States national park and UNESCO World Heritage Site that straddles the ridgeline of the Great Smoky Mountains, part of the Blue Ridge Mountains, which are a division of the larger Appalachian Mountain chain. The border between Tennessee and North Carolina runs northeast to southwest through the centerline of the park. It is the most visited national park in the United States. On its route from Maine to Georgia, the Appalachian Trail also passes through the center of the park. The park was chartered by the United States Congress in 1934 and officially dedicated by President Franklin Delano Roosevelt in 1940. It encompasses 522,419 acres, making it one of the largest protected areas in the eastern United States. The main park entrances are located along U.S. Highway 441 at the towns of Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and Cherokee, North Carolina. It was the first national park whose land and other costs were paid for in part with federal funds. Previous parks were funded wholly with state money or private funds. History. Before the arrival of European settlers, the region was part of the homeland of the Cherokees. Frontiers people began settling the land in the 18th and early 19th century. In 1830 President Andrew Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act, beginning the process that eventually resulted in the forced removal of all Indian tribes east of the Mississippi River to what is now Oklahoma. Many of the Cherokee left, but some, led by renegade warrior Sali, hid out in the area that is now the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. Some of their descendants now live in the Qualla boundary to the south of the park. As white settlers arrived, logging grew as a major industry in the mountains, and a rail line, the Little River Railroad, was constructed in the late 19th century to haul timber out of the remote regions of the area. Cut-and-run style clay cutting was destroying the natural beauty of the area, so visitors and locals banded together to raise money for preservation of the land. The U.S. National Park Service wanted a park in the eastern United States, but did not have much money to establish one. Though Congress had authorized the park in 1926, there was no nucleus of federally owned land around which to build a park. John D. Rockefeller, Jr., contributed $5 million, the U.S. government added $2 million, and private citizens from Tennessee and North Carolina pitched in to assemble the land for the park, piece by piece. Slowly, mountain homesteaders, miners, and loggers were evicted from the land. Farms and timbering operations were abolished to establish the protected areas of the park. Travel writer Horace Caffart, for whom Mount Caffart was named, and photographer George Mazza were instrumental in fostering the development of the park. Former Governor Ben W. Hooper of Tennessee was the principal land purchasing agent for the park, which was officially established on June 15, 1934. During the Great Depression, the Civilian Conservation Corps, the Works Progress Administration, and other federal organizations made trails, fire watchtowers, and other infrastructure improvements to the park and Smoky Mountains. It was also a site for filming of parts of Disney's hit 1950s TV series, Davy Crockett, King of the Wild Frontier. This park was designated an International Biosphere Reserve in 1976, was certified as a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1983, and became a part of the Southern Appalachian Biosphere Reserve in 1988. A 75th anniversary rededication ceremony was held on September 2, 2009. Among those in attendance were all 4 U.S. senators, the 3 U.S. representatives whose districts include the park, the governors of both states, and Secretary of the Interior Ken Salazar. Tennessee native, singer, and actress Dolly Parton also attended and performed. Geology. The majority of rocks in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park are late Precambrian rocks that are part of the Orcoe supergroup. This group consists of metamorphosed sandstones, phyllites, schists, and slate. Early Precambrian rocks are not only the oldest rocks in the park but also the dominant rock type in sites such as the Raven Fork Valley and Upper Tuckasegee River between Cherokee and Bryson City. They primarily consist of metamorphic gneiss, granite, and schist. Cambrian sedimentary rocks can be found among the bottom of the foothills to the northwest and in limestone coves such as Cad's Cove. One of the most visited attractions in the mountains is Cad's Cove, which is a window or an area where older rocks made out of sandstone surround the valley floor of younger rocks made out of limestone. The oldest rocks in the Smokies are the Precambrian gneiss and schists, which were formed over 1 billion years ago from the accumulation of marine sediments and igneous rock. In the late Precambrian, the primordial ocean expanded and the more recent Orcoe supergroup rocks formed from the accumulation of eroding land mass onto the continental shelf. In the Paleozoic era, the ocean deposited a thick layer of marine sediments which left behind sedimentary rock. During the Ordovician period, the collision of the North American and African tectonic plates initiated the Alleghenian orogeny that created the Appalachian Range. During the Mesozoic era, rapid erosion of softer sedimentary rocks re-exposed the older Orcoe supergroup formations. Natural features: elevations in the park range from 876 feet at the mouth of Abrams Creek to 6,643 feet at the summit of Clingman's Dome. Within the park, a total of 16 mountains reach higher than 6,000 feet. The wide range of elevations mimics the latitudinal changes found throughout the entire eastern United States. Indeed, ascending the mountains is comparable to a trip from Tennessee to Canada. Plants and animals common in the country's northeast have found suitable ecological niches in the park's higher elevations, while southern species find homes in the balmier lower reaches. During the most recent ice age, the northeast to southwest orientation of the Appalachian Mountains allowed species to migrate southward along the slopes rather than finding the mountains to be a barrier. As climate warms, many northern species are now retreating upward along the slopes and withdrawing northward, while southern species are expanding. The park normally has very high humidity and precipitation, averaging from 55 inches per year in the valleys to 85 inches per year on the peaks. This is more annual rainfall than anywhere in the United States outside the Pacific Northwest and parts of Alaska and Hawaii. It is also generally cooler than the lower elevations below, and most of the park has a humid continental climate more comparable to locations much farther north, as opposed to the humid subtropical climate in the lowlands. The park is almost 95% forested, and almost 36% of it, 187,000 acres, is estimated by the Park Service to be old-growth forest with many trees that predate European settlement of the area. It is one of the largest blocks of deciduous, temperate, old-growth forest in North America. The variety of elevations, the abundant rainfall, and the presence of old-growth forests give the park an unusual richness of biota. About 10,000 species of plants and animals are known to live in the park, and estimates as high as an additional 90,000 undocumented species may also be present. Park officials count more than 200 species of birds, 66 species of mammals, 50 species of fish, 39 species of reptiles, and 43 species of amphibians, including many lungless salamanders. The park has a noteworthy black bear population, numbering about 1,500. An experimental reintroduction of elk into the park began in 2001. Over 100 species of trees grow in the park. The lower region forests are dominated by deciduous leafy trees. At higher altitudes, deciduous forests give way to coniferous trees like Fraser fir. In addition, the park has over 1,400 flowering plant species and over 4,000 species of non-flowering plants. Attractions and activities. The Great Smoky Mountains National Park is a major tourist attraction in the region. Over 9 million tourists and 11 million non-recreational visitors travel to the park in 2010, more than twice as many visitors as the Grand Canyon, the second most visited national park. Surrounding towns, notably Gatlinburg, Pigeon Forge, Sevierville, and Townsend, Tennessee, and Cherokee, Silver, Maggie Valley, and Bryson City, North Carolina receive a significant portion of their income from tourism associated with the park. The two main visitor centers inside the park are Sugarlands Visitor Center near the Gatlinburg entrance to the park and Econolofty Visitor Center near Cherokee, North Carolina at the eastern entrance to the park. These ranger stations provide exhibits on wildlife, geology, and the history of the park. They also sell books, maps, and souvenirs. Unlike most other national parks, there is no entry fee to the park. U.S. Highway 441 bisects the park, providing automobile access to many trailheads and overlooks, most notably that of Newfound Gap. At an elevation of 5,048 feet, it is the lowest gap in the mountains and is situated near the center of the park, on the Tennessee-North Carolina state line, halfway between the border towns of Gatlinburg and Cherokee. It was here that in 1940, from the Rockefeller Memorial, Franklin Delano Roosevelt dedicated the national park. On clear days, Newfound Gap offers arguably the most spectacular scenes accessible via highway in the park. The park has a number of historical attractions. The most well-preserved of these is Cad's Cove, a valley with a number of preserved historic buildings including log cabins, barns, and churches. Cad's Cove is the single most frequented destination in the national park. Self-guided automobile and bicycle tours offer the many sightseers a glimpse into the way of life of old-time southern Appalachia. Other historical areas within the park include Roaring Fork, Catawba, Oakmont, and the Mountain Farm Museum and Mingus Mill at Econolofty. Hiking. There are 850 miles of trails and unpaved roads in the park for hiking, including 70 miles of the Appalachian Trail. Mount LeConte is one of the most frequented destinations in the park. Its elevation is 6,593 feet, the third highest summit in the park and, measured from its base to its highest peak, the tallest mountain east of the Mississippi River. Alum Cave Trail is the most heavily used of the 5 paths en route to the summit. It provides many scenic overlooks and unique natural attractions such as Alum Cave Bluffs and Arch Rock. Hikers may spend a night at the LeConte Lodge, located near the summit, which provides cabins and rooms for rent. Accessible solely by trail, it is the only private lodging available inside the park. Another popular hiking trail leads to the pinnacle of the Chimney Tops, so named because of its unique dual-humped peak tops. This short but strenuous trek rewards nature enthusiasts with a spectacular panorama of the surrounding mountain peaks. Both the Laurel Falls and Clingman's Dome trails offer relatively easy, short, paved paths to their respective destinations. The Laurel Falls Trail leads to a powerful 80-foot waterfall, and the Clingman's Dome Trail takes visitors on an uphill climb to a 50-foot observation deck, which on a clear day offers views for many miles over the Tennessee, North Carolina, and Georgia mountains. In addition to day hiking, the national park offers opportunities for backpacking and camping. Camping is allowed only in designated camping areas and shelters. Most of the park's trail shelters are located along the Appalachian Trail or a short distance away on side trails. In addition to the Appalachian Trail shelters used mostly for extended backpacking trips, there are 3 shelters in the park that are not located on the Appalachian Trail. The Mount LeConte Shelter is located a short distance east of LeConte Lodge on the Boulevard Trail. It can accommodate 12 people per night, and is the only backcountry site in the entire park that has a permanent ban on campfires. The Cafard Shelter is located at the terminus of the Cafard Prong Trail, which begins upstream of the Collins Creek picnic area. The shelter, situated along a tributary of the Econolofty River, can accommodate 14 people. Laurel Gap Shelter is one of the more remote shelters in the park. Situated in a beech forest swag between Balsam High Top and Big Catawba Mountain, the Laurel Gap Shelter can accommodate up to 14 people per night. This shelter is a popular base camp for peakbaggers exploring the heart of the Smokies wilderness. Designated backcountry campsites are scattered throughout the park. A permit, available at ranger stations and trailheads, is required for all backcountry camping. Additionally, reservations are required for many of the campsites and all of the shelters. A maximum stay of 1 night, in the case of shelters, or 3 nights, in the case of campsites, may limit the traveler's itinerary. Other activities: after hiking and simple sightseeing, fishing is the most popular activity in the national park. The park's waters have long had a reputation for healthy trout activity as well as challenging fishing terrain. Brook trout are native to the waters, while both brown and rainbow were introduced to the area. Partially due to the fact of recent droughts killing off the native fish, There are strict regulations regarding how fishing may be conducted. Horseback riding, bicycling and water tubing are all also practiced within the park. Historic areas within the national park. The Park Service maintains 4 historic districts and 1 archaeological district within park boundaries, as well as 9 individual listings on the National Register of Historic Places. Notable structures not listed include the Mountain Farm Museum buildings at Oconaluftee and buildings in the Cat-or-Luwachee area. The Mingus Mill and Smoky Mountain Hiking Club cabin in Greenbrier have been deemed eligible for listing. Historic districts, Cad's Cove Historic District, Oakmont Historic District, Oconaluftee Archaeological District, Noah Ogle Place, Roaring Fork Historic District, individual listings. Alex Cole Cabin, Klingman's Dome Observation Tower, Hall Cabin, John Messer Barn, John Ownby Cabin, Oconaluftee Baptist Church, Tyson McCutter Place, Maynard Trina Event Studio, Little Greenbrier School, Walker Sisters Place. Electric vehicles. The National Park Service announced in late 2001 that it would use electric vehicles provided by the Tennessee Valley Authority for a research project in the Great Smoky Mountains National Park to evaluate the vehicle's performance in mountainous terrain. The NPS said the EVs will be on loan from TVA for 2 years and will be used by Park Service staff at Cad's Cove and the Great Smoky Mountains Institute at Tremont to determine the benefits provided by these vehicles versus standard gasoline-fueled vehicles. Air pollution. Great Smoky Mountains National Park is considered the most polluted national park according to a 2004 report by the National Parks Conservation Association. From 1999 to 2003, the park recorded approximately 150 unhealthy air days, the equivalent of about 1 month of unhealthy air days per year. See also, Great Smoky Mountains Association, Great Smoky Mountains Heritage Center, Wildflowers of the Great Smoky Mountains, Notes. References, Saferstein, Mark 2004. Great Smoky Mountains. 22nd ed. American Parks Network. Tilden, Freeman 1970. The National Parks, Old-Time Smoky Mountain Music, 34 Historic Songs, Ballads, and Instrumentals Recorded in the Great Smoky Mountains by songcatcher Joseph S. Hall. External links, Official site, Great Smoky Mountains National Park, Lookout Rock webcam and current air quality data, Great Smoky Mountains National Park at NASA Earth Observatory, official non-profit expert nature hikes, guide to records from the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, Great Smoky Mountains Association, a non-profit partner of the park, videos, photos, maps, and more.